क्योंकि हमारे पास बड़े अच्छे दो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं जो आज इस पर बात करेंगे। मैं फॉर्मली उनका शुक्रिया बाद में अदा करूंगा और आपके कोई क्वेश्चंस हों तो आप जरूर उनसे पूछें।
शुक्रिया चेयरमैन साहब। अब मैं दावत देती हूँ मेहजाद सहर साहब को, जो एंग्रो कॉरपोरेशन में ग्रुप हेड इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी हैं। आप चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर के तौर पर नेशनली और इंटरनेशनली मल्टीपल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम कर चुके हैं। आपका 24 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है। काइंडली आप आएं और आज के मौजू पर अपनी ब्रीफिंग दें।
Thank you so much, NEPRA, and especially Chairman NEPRA, Mr. Tausif Sahar. We highly acknowledge and appreciate all of your efforts to pay attention to this critical element, which is not necessarily, being highlighted by other regulators in a very systematic way. So I would like to take this opportunity to actually thank you for all this arrangement. And now I would like to actually start my presentation. And the presentation is actually talking about power sector threats and what is the way forward. Means what should we do? What should be strategy? Yes, everyone comes and actually talk about problem, but where is the solution? So I would like to share my screen. Great. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. If anyone can please confirm.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, wonderful. So as you said, working with the AngloCorp for a while, and earlier I have a diversified experience of being CISO and serving different other sectors like banking, telco, and then consulting. So with this experience, we would like to actually highlight about what is happening in the global world, cybersecurity perspective. So no matter if it is IT or OT, and then we will focus more on energy sector. So would like to share one interesting but eye-opening statistics. I took it from IBM, one of their strategic report issued in 2022. What they are saying, like if we go to top 10 industries where hackers are taking interest to compromise them and get all possible benefit. So energy sector, it comes at number 4. So it means out of top 10, even top 5, this energy sector is a great interest for all these hackers because of the implications which comes in case of a compromise under this sector. And then this position is, by the way, dynamic. In 2021, it was actually having more issues. In 2022, less issues, but it is a moving target. And God knows in 2023, it will be moving up or down. However, as far as it is standing under the top 5, we really need to understand the criticality of this industry. And that's why it is not in Pakistan, even at the global level, even the superpower like country like America is also suffering. They are having this type of interruption. Some of the interruption under energy sector could be typical maintenance issues, and some of them, by the way, they could be because of a cybersecurity attack. Recently, you might be aware, even in India, the Tata Power, top power producer in India, they confirmed a cyber attack. So whether we like or not, it is a better truth that earlier we thought only banking or telco industry is being actually attacked by cyber criminals. But now it looks like as far as the energy sector actually really leads towards a big headline because the implication is towards a national disaster. So these criminals, cyber criminals, now they are knocking very much door at this industry, and we all need to remain very much vigilant accordingly. So this slide is talking about what is happening under OT specifically, and some of the typical IT major incident across one decade. You all will be very much well aware of the first ever industrial control system, virus king, once Iranian nuclear plant was actually attacked in the form of stuckness. I will not discuss more because I think this is the whole story. But in this slide, I would like to simply emphasize the energy sector point of view during this 10-year journey. We have seen that the first ever typical power grid hacking happened on Ukraine power plant. And that was a test bed actually to check that in case there will be actual war, which is to be honest is happening now, how someone sitting remotely can create a war-like impact and paralyze the whole government and the whole state. And that happened in Ukraine in 2015. And then later on, after 8 years, the actual war was started. So you can understand the criticality and the way that actors, even sometimes sponsored by the state, can behave to show their muscles to put a country in dark age. In addition to this type of state-sponsored attack, there are some attacks which are also attacking energy sector, but the intention is to make money. So one of them is what happened through a known malware called Poet Rat in Azerbaijan. Electric power system was compromised, and there was a DTRAC malware, which was hitting oil and gas and manufacturing industry. So these type of attacks, the motivation was to make money and of course get fame. In Pakistan, K Electric is also well-known incident. We are all very much aware of that. Luckily, I will say the incident was mostly hitting the IT services, not the OT system. But to be honest, the problem here is no matter the interruption was under IT, but if information is leaked, and this information can be utilized later on to very much well-planned a second attack directly targeting OT, because there is a misconception like if IT is compromised and OT is under some kind of air gap, nothing will happen to the plant. But to be honest, the hackers, they 99.9% first they go inside your IT network, steal the information, get the privileged access, understand the blueprint, understand the architecture of OT, and then from that they chop down the plan to attack the OT network. Okay. So this is very rare, like someone would directly go to your OT network. The most of the root cause is phishing attack. Most of the root cause is attack where the IT was the gateway. Even in case of stuckness, the attack came through a simple USB drive, which was inserted to a computer laptop, right? So it means we have to really understand that the evolving threats are still using the basic gateway, which is in this case is IT, and then going inside critical infrastructure. So if you look at this slide, it is talking about national critical infrastructure. If we say national critical infrastructure, what does it mean? It means something relevant to manufacturing, something relevant to energy, oil and gas, transport, telco. And why we call them national critical infrastructure? Simply, the reasoning is, if they are down, then not only their business will go down. Actually, the implication can lead towards a national disaster in the form of some human loss, in the form of some, let's say, some crop, we will not be able to actually produce them properly. In the form of telco cutoff, then no communication. So in this way, actually, a disaster can be created. So this type of industry should not be considered a normal industry. I would like to also mention, I'm sure many of you must be aware of cyber law introduced by Pakistan. It is very much clearly mentioned there that in case of an attack on national critical infrastructure, the penalty. Maybe some of us might not be aware of this type of penalty, but that is mentioned in part of our cyber crime law. So we all need to understand the implication and also should remain accountable, responsible while even talking about this type of critical national infrastructure. We should not actually pay attention to speculations. For example, yes, it is speculations or it is being still actually discussed or analyzed whether last time what happened to our energy sector, the root cause was a typical maintenance issue or it was a cybersecurity. The problem here is that without having a firm evidence, we can't conclude. It's like if someone is having a headache. So it could be, just a simple headache, or it could be because of a tumor inside your brain. Of course, both require a kind of lab setup, maybe a normal stethoscope or up to MRI test, right? So the problem in our infrastructure is we don't have, especially as of now, a very sophisticated cybersecurity forensic available to actually figure out what was the actual root cause. Because first of all, you should have the lab setup and then you can declare the problem was a simple fever or it was a cancer. So that's why the speculation remains speculation unless you have the legitimate fundamental lab setup to conclude what was the actual root cause. And that's why once we are talking on social media or anywhere about these type of incident and then putting our statement, yes, it is a cyber attack, we all should be very much careful because we are talking about national critical infrastructure. Now, in a typical industry like banking or telco, security perspective, there are three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. In case of banking and telco, we all know data is the king. Credit card information or CDRs are being kept there, and if they are leaked, it can create actually a big problem, especially privacy perspective. And that's why they are putting more control against these type of information. However, the situation is totally different in case of the operational technology, which is a plant level infrastructure, OT related infrastructure like energy sector or any other manufacturing area. Here, availability is the most important thing because if the energy plant, imagine if it is down, then it can create a lot of, I would say, even financial loss. I remember one of the statistics are proving that during the last shutdown in our country, one of the big industry owner claimed that he lost like $300 million. Okay, because if it is down for 1 day or 2 days, it has a big meaning, for them. So plant perspective, rather than we say confidentiality, availability is the king there. And of course, someone can debate because in order to interrupt the availability, someone needs to get access to a very confidential data to understand the plant. So I don't mean that we should ignore the confidentiality mechanism under the OT plant. However, yes, confidentiality breach leads toward actually unavailability. So eventually, these three things are important, even integrity. Integrity is the manipulation. Like usually the energy plants, if the cybersecurity attack is happening, for them it is very easy to go and manipulate and interrupt the integrity of the frequency, for example. And if the design is actually configured in a way which is in layman terminology we call it serial network. So if one is down, then it will be cascading impact. So it will be domino effect. So one is down, one frequency is malfunction, then it can create problem for other supporting grid station. So eventually, what I want to say, whether it is availability, integrity, confidentiality, all these three pillars of security, they remain intact, and we really need to pay attention to put all possible security control around them. Just to understand what is the difference between the typical IT and OT, because OT is a different beast, or it's totally different animal. So you can't handle it with the typical security control, which are very much well known under IT. IT is at the enterprise level, OT itself is the industry. Okay. And one of the example is in IT, maybe every day there is a security incident, but in OT, they are very, very rare. And if they are, then they are very, very destructive. So even though it could be once in a blue moon, the impact is too much, and it's at a higher level as compared to financial security incident or other telco security incident. In case of IT, the data is the king, right? Everything moving around data. But in case of OT, the process is the king, because these engineers, while competing with typical IT guys, for them the process is the most important, because the refined product is actually being achieved with the help of very strict process following, right? There are a lot of gateways in IT, but in case of OT, the gateway are very much limited. We all know IT is known for having security patches, and they go and update immediately. Let's say it will take 1 week, maximum 1 month. But in case of OT, unfortunately, having a patch is a disaster, because if the plant is running and someone try to put a patch and without proper testing, no one can afford any outage. And that's why it is very normal to see that in OT or in power plant, you'll find a lot of patches, whether they are security or maintenance patches, you will find they are due for implementation, and they are due maybe for more than 10 years, and they can afford this. However, on the other side, actually, it introduced a lot of vulnerabilities for which plant will remain qualified. So that is the fair comparison of IT and OT here. And would like to mention what are the misconceptions. Usually the plant side, team, they believe that we are totally cut off from the outside world. It is air gap, no one can come and touch us. And that's why with this blessing, the plant itself is very much secure. This is all misconception. One of the example is in Iranian plant. Yes, it was fully cut off from the internet, but hackers, once determined, they were able to send a malicious USB. You might be aware of an attack called USB spray. USB spray means someone can spray a lot of USB with full of malware. It just cost them maybe $1 per USB, and this is human psyche, that whenever you find something free of cost, you will pick up and you will try to see what is inside, and that exactly happened. So a very much air gap plant was compromised with the help of a USB, which was a malicious USB. So this misconception is there. So people believe there are firewall and they will secure us. That is not the case. Firewall remain a box as far as the rules are not very much strict. People believe that we don't give access to OEM online, but these people, whenever the problem comes, the plant teams are actually directly, indirectly, they remain under pressure, and there are actually gateways where actually in the name of pressure, in order to actually make plant available, such access is being given, so that someone sitting in US or in China can take the access immediately and can do remote troubleshooting. So it means the remote access is the practical reality, whether we like or not. And people believe that there are IT team, they will secure us, and they are working, they are like angels, and they will secure us in case of a disaster. But we need to understand everything has a limit. In case of a typical IT security incident, to be honest, it is still easy to go and discover. In case of a OT plant, actually issue of security incident, we are talking about a giant animal which is distributed across a big area. So it's not like a server which you can go and restart in case you don't understand how to troubleshoot. You can't afford to go and restart the whole power plant, because the power plant, restarting is totally different from a typical IT server. So things cannot be like recovered from a backup as we do in case of a IT services. And last but not the least, people believe there are administrative control, and through that it can be totally controlled. But we have many examples which is very simple to bypass the administrative control. Now let's zoom into power cybersecurity issues in Pakistan. I will say it's not only in Pakistan. to be honest, these are like typical global issues, which are, actually applicable to all others outside even Pakistan also. So, for example, one of them is the everyone is in hurry to go and launch services and upgrade their services and then connect it to internet so that they can digitally transform their services. Yes, it introduces a lot of monetary benefits. You will start understanding what other power plants are doing, what are their actually cost-effective values, how they are using their plant different KPI in a more effective way. But in order to do that, you'll have to open your plant with the outside world. So more you do this digital transformation, actually you are exposing your network towards different vulnerabilities. However, of course, you can't remain and you can't sit idle, and otherwise people will say that you will love to actually only remain in dark age. However, the whole world is progressing towards digital transformation. So you'll have to compete in this area. Vulnerabilities remain, as I mentioned earlier, they remain due for decade, and no one actually dare to go and do such patches because this is really a complex job. One of the very serious issues, especially in Pakistan, already we are having a big brain drainage. Forget OT, all of our IT security professionals, they are going outside Pakistan because they find good wages there, good, packages being offered. To be honest, whatever let's say in Pakistan, people get, the same amount, but in dollar is available. So see, is it like almost 300 times difference? So that is the major issues, and that's why most of the people, they love to work outside Pakistan. OT cybersecurity experts, to be honest, globally they are, rare. So think about their availability. However, it creates another opportunity for Pakistani market and even academia to create such talent in Pakistan by default, in addition to typical IT resources. Investment in cybersecurity is very much limited, I would say, because energy sector, with my knowledge, they are not even having a proper IT security department across all of their subsidiaries, because that itself requires a good understanding and investment. So ideally speaking, the energy sector, first of all, should have a proper IT security department. I'm not talking about one or two guys, I'm talking about proper organization. I will also explain this in an upcoming slide. And then they should have the OT, specialist, OT cybersecurity specialist part of this team. That is actually, very much really available, and that itself is a very big challenge. Last but not the least, the segmentation is not educated. Means the things are very much, as I mentioned, they are connected to with each other, and then in case of a compromise, not only compromise one area, it compromise the overall system. So what are the implications in case of a power outage, especially the power outage, no matter it is because of a maintenance issue or because of a cybersecurity? A big power outage, we all know it can create a disruption of energy supply across the whole country, and of course, a lot of economical damage and also a lot of risk even to public safety. Imagine if some hospitals are shut down and they are not able to provide the electricity after actually draining out their backup services in the form of generator, then eventually it can create even a prolonged power outage can create a human loss, which is really a disaster. So the impact, there is no further discussion. It is gonna paralyze all the industry. So whether it is bank or whether it is telco, all are coming under such impact, and we should never ever ignore this. I would like to appreciate what NEPRA is doing, as you people mentioned, that finally NEPRA in 2022, they introduced their framework for first ever framework introduced by NEPRA for all of the power sector. And this framework, if we go in very bird eye view, is asking that people should have OT security policy, security control, implementation, as a complete life cycle, should have a proper process of reviewing the security and vulnerability assessment. So it's not a one-time job. Integrity, confidentiality, and authenticity of data should be challenged at multiple places. Most important thing is visibility, means monitoring. If it is happening in case of a security incident, being proactive team or proactive actually service provider, we should not wait for a security incident. We should be proactively actually avoiding such incidents. Awareness and training, and this series is one of them that at the regulator level it is happening, but ideally speaking, all of the power sector industry, they should have their part of, for example, the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. There should be like a cyber security responsibility, and they should have this type of awareness sessions among their different team members and targeting not only normal engineers but also their board of directors. They should be well educated for this. Regulatory reporting and communication, and then again telling what is the status to their regulator. One of the reasoning that why I'm putting a yellow color here is that these things, what we believe, they are in very initial stage. So it is a long journey because no one actually realized the importance of this, and so it will take time. However, it's never late. We need to start somewhere, and that is the discussion point. In the coming slide, I will also propose a solution where actually in a systematic way, if we will follow the plan and eventually if we will go and try to connect the dot, the overall picture will be very much clear. Now, so what should be strategy for power sector? That is the question. So it's a very high level. What I believe that we need to work on 4 areas, 4 vertical under power sector, and especially the OT, area, cybersecurity should have 4 vertical. So one of them is the OT governance. In OT governance perspective, like similar to IT risk register, there should be a OT risk register. Things should be actually assessed, should be recorded, and they should be proper actually OT cybersecurity committee, similar to IT steering committee or IT security steering committee. There should be OT cybersecurity committee head by, let's say, their CEO, CIO, CISO, and then they should go through this risk register on regular basis and then decide about the course of action. Hardening guideline. This is very important. No one knows actually that nothing can be configured with next. All these infrastructure, especially in the power plant, should be customized according to recommended hardening guidelines. Third-party OT-based integration, whenever you go and do this, just be careful. This is very much required that don't blindly go and integrate your services in the name of digital transformation. Follow the zero trust model where you have to see all of even your vendor with this suspicious eye and make sure that you ended up not having embedded security code part of this integration. Without mentioning, I will give you example. With my experience, I found very big name in the name of integration. They were engaged, and once we just did some due diligence, we found even that big company and their actually code or the application was found having an embedded notorious IP address in the name of command and control center IP address, where actually they were found sending information towards some unwanted channel. So data exploitation was part of the data of the service provider itself. So what is the lesson then? No trust, zero trust, have your team, let them, challenge this, and then, give green signal before we will go for such integration. Same thing in the OT assessment. You do your assessment, you check where you are right now, do the baselining, and then put a deadline to improve this further. All of your things, whenever, especially you go online, make sure whenever you open your energy sector plant or power plant towards internet in the name of digital transformation, be very, very strict. do proper security assessment, pen test, and then give security clearance before you go live. So this should happen on periodic basis. Third thing is, as I mentioned earlier, awareness. Make it a part of your onboarding process. All the engineers, similar to HSC training, which is a typical training in the name of maintaining the safety of the employees, they should go through a mandatory OT cyber security training. This is like one of the takeaway of this whole session. If we will do this, because people remain the weakest link, and this weakened links, if it is being actually fixed at the initial stage, it will really add value. Last but not the least, the OT SOC. OT SOC means what? In addition to IT SOC, like IT Security Operations Center, all power plants should have their OT Security Operations Center. So similar to typical NOC or Network Operations Center or typical OT monitoring, they should also monitor cybersecurity threats, which are actually applicable for their plant in real time, and then should take action accordingly. This is something I would like to also propose because it is also mentioned part of NEPRA requirement that all power plants, should have their own CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. So first of all, let me tell. In reality, as I said earlier, they don't have even proper IT security, and now we are talking about OT security. So this should be taken very, very religiously. Yes, the time has come not to run this by a typical IT person. It is a very specialized area. All plant, they need to hire, first of all, a CISO level guy, the actual CISO, the actual CXO level guy to govern this, because this is the area which require actually leadership and which should be able to actually go and present this in front of board of directors. So it's not a typical, the manager level guy, very junior level guy who can go and present and fight and get the budget for this type of a difficult puzzle. So I will highly recommend this. CISO means the actual CISO, the CXO level position, and that should be created because this is very, very serious topic. And then under this, there should be team of other, like some team members having IT security background and some team members having the background of industrial control system cybersecurity. And that's why I have mentioned a CISO, may have actually someone called Cisco Corporate Industrial Control System Cybersecurity Officer. And then he will be supported by security architect, risk assessment team, and OT cybersecurity, and supported by the plant. This is just an example, but we need to start somewhere other than having the lip service, because the plant management, unless we go and tell them about the importance, they will love not to actually hire senior people for this very sensitive position. So this is I will say before we do anything, if this is done in the first year, that will be a big achievement. Because rest, if there is a proper guy, he will be able to achieve all other technical and process related remediation. He will be able to take the lead in a very, very systematic. So this is like most important. And if we are going to do this, we'll have to understand that this is industry 4.0 area. Lot of things we are being asked to actually connect with the internet, and then of course they invite different cyber security threats. So this all should happen hand in hand in parallel while thinking about cyber security control. In this case, we discover IEC 62443 is one of the best security standards. We go to UK before they launch any power plant, before they launch any manufacturing industry. It is like must standard which they need to follow, and then they get the clearance, and then the plant can go live. I think we need to follow the same thing in Pakistan, because OT plants or power sector plant or OT rated plants, they are actually asking for different standards. Typically IT's security controls, they are okay if they follow ISO 27001, but in case of the OT plant, this is the need of the hour. And there are different levels. I will not go into detail in the favor of time, and that can be achieved. One thing is there is no standard actually which can talk about both IT and OT. So eventually, if we want to monitor whether we are doing a good job or not, so we can follow, this C2M2, and this is actually is meant actually to check your maturity level at the OT level and also on the IT level. So a roadmap can be made where to secure our IT services, typical ISO 27001 security standard can be followed. But for OT plant standardization, for security perspective, IC 62443 can be implemented. It's not a overnight magic. It may take 2 to 3 years overall, and then with the C2M2, we will be able to actually see whether they have been achieved properly or not. This is just a suggestion. Some of the last slides, because we were only mostly talking about processes or the governance things, but what are the typical technical solutions I would like to propose? So one of them is need to have a kind of actually USB kiosk which should be actually placed across all command and control center which are monitoring the health of the plant. Because as we learn from the stuckness that no matter you have kind of air gap, but a typical malicious USB can create a problem. So whenever any maintenance engineers come in the name of maintenance, every second month or third month from a OEM, he must be challenged to actually go through a rigorous process of scanning his USB through this scanner, and then he should be allowed to go inside the plant. And the plant should not accept, there is a technical way, not accept any USB if it is not endorsed or signed or digitally signed by the outside USB scanner. So I will not go into detail, but these type of solutions are there, which actually give the assurance of the integrity of the this type of USB. Also, yes, we know the typical IT-related antivirus, but industrial control system antivirus implementation is like a must to go, and it should be installed across all DCS, all servers, and if there are some desktop machines, wherever applicable. Similar to IT, there are some kind of vulnerabilities which are being discovered according to different type of OEM. That needs to be clearly actually monitored because they give you an idea about vulnerability which have been actually introduced, and these vulnerability can lead to the kind of a breach. In order to actually monitor this, you can put some kind of IDS in plant at different levels, level 2, level 3 and above, where actually they can sense the possibility of vulnerability, and then they can actually tell you. I give you example, if someone still able to actually insert a USB and that is a kind of a vulnerability introduced, then this IDS can detect this in real time and can generate a alert. You might be aware of a SIEM solution, security incident event management solution. It is very much popular in IT perspective, but for OT, yes, there is a way that you can introduce its own mini OT SOC. There are well-known vendors, I will not name them, but they actually are meant to monitor these type of plant or energy sector related threats, and they have the built-in libraries, and based on that, they can figure different rules that needs to be introduced to monitor this area. So eventually, what is the vision? The vision is, in addition to IT SOC, IT Security Operations Center, all plants should have their OT Security Operations Center, and where all such information should go and actually remain there in a very consolidated way. So whether there is an IT threat or there is an OT threats, they should be correlated to give a very much big picture of all threats landing on the plant. And you may see here that whether there are other control like USB kiosk or antivirus. I have mentioned data diodes. These type of control actually allow to have a hardware-based control which only allow traffic from OT plant to IT, but vice versa will be mission impossible because the hardware configuration does not allow any reverse communication. So they are using a typical CRT, the cathode ray tube phenomena, and so one-way communication is possible. And no way, even though the hackers are very smart, they will not be able to actually get the two-way communication. So these type of rigorous control can be introduced, and these controls should be also monitored by your OT plant. This is maybe our second last slide, that overall we need to work under people, process, and technology. And there is no overnight magic. There is no, one pill which we can take tonight and tomorrow we can say our plants are secure. This itself is a journey, but this slide is showing that there is need to work on people and processes and technology. I give you example. Process level, it looks simple. If it is IT perspective, it is a password policy, can be finalized in 1 hour. But in case of an OT power plant, practically speaking, it requires maybe 2 days, 3 days discussion with the engineering department to implement and advise a very practical password policy, because the password policy for a OT power plant or for an energy sector is totally different from what we believe usually in case of an IT plant. So they really require different treatment. And so that's why people with this OT cybersecurity background, they are the need of the time, and they should remain there to develop this type of things. So this is my last slide. So mitigation cybersecurity in the power sector in Pakistan. Let's prioritize cybersecurity, invest in this area. We need to actually demand budget. This is very much important. Everything has a cost. Through lip service, it will not run. We'll have to ask, we'll have to spare budget. And if not, then regulator, NEPRA has the authority to actually penalize that why, the budget is not allocated, because that is the root cause of many issues. A proper, reasonable budget should be there so that a roadmap can be developed accordingly to touch people, process, and products across different area. And then there should be collaboration with the government agencies and international partners to improve this further. My conclusion is the power sector in Pakistan must take cybersecurity very seriously. The time has come to protect the country, energy supply, economy, and public safety from our heart and very much religiously. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time.
कोई सवाल है इनके लिए, मेहजाद साहब के लिए? आपकी दो बातें जी बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है। एक तो ये आपने जो अच्छी बात की कि खाली आईटी को फिक्स करना या खाली ओटी को फिक्स करना इज नॉट एनफ। जब तक दोनों साइड्स प्रॉपर अंदाज में कवर नहीं होंगी, हम प्रॉपर प्रोटेक्शन नहीं कर सकते।